on to my first speaker from the opposition team. Well, she said that we are misusing the taxpayers' money and we should not do this. But it's ultimately going to help the working class in America. That is what the government is doing, trying to help the working classes in America. So using the taxpayers' money to help these people is not a problem as we see. And also companies like Ford and Chrysler, there's American people working in them, and that's why that's where the government are aiming to reach out to American people, helping these American people in the times of economic crisis. So companies like Hyundai and Toyota coming in are not an issue right now. They're supposed to help the American people right now for the economic downturn. And moving on to my case proper, like my first speaker has mentioned, that the nature of the American financial market and how it's linked to the entire world. If you bring down the world leader like America, it is going to bring down every other small countries, every other company that is dependent on America. So the government should step in and save the banks now, because nobody else can save them. They are not going to get the revenue from anywhere else. So the government is the only source. No, thank you, sir. So the government is the only source that can step in to save these banks, because where are these banks going to get their revenue from to save themselves? No, thank you, sir. So banks themselves are failing. The only proper party to step in, like I've mentioned before, is the government. So this government can come in and inject funds to quickly remedy the problem. And also, moving on, what will happen if we ignore protectionism and if we do not heal to protectionism? Companies can't remedy the problem themselves. Why? They don't have the funds, they do not have the means for the revenue to tackle the problem, and ultimately they will break down, causing the working class people who work for them to go down with them as well. So this will cause a great downturn in the economic crisis. So that is why the government should step in and carry out protectionism as a legitimate tool. We are not saying that government bailout is the only thing. It should work hand in hand with everything else. And like I said, no, thank you, sir. Like millions of people are affected with the economic downturn. So what is the role of the government here? The role of the government here is to protect the people's interests, and by protecting the people's interests, the protectionism as a legitimate tool, as we said, government bailout with regulations will be the key here. Will help to remedy the problem and ease the problem of the current situation. No, thank you, sir. So we have to address the main problem, which is the banks are not getting any revenue. They have no means of getting any revenue. So the banks, so the government should step in. No, thank you. No, thank you, sir. Since this government can provide the money to these banks, they have a watchful eye over the companies. They have a greater say over these banks' practices. So in future they can protect the company from going from another crisis like this, and the practices will improve because the government is giving the money, and the government will have a say on the practices of the bank. The government will have a watchful eye because they are funding in the money. They will have a watchful eye over how the money is being spent and how the practices of the banks are going on. So thank you, sir. So the practices will ultimately improve. So the taxpayers' money will not go to waste because the banks will improve, and ultimately the working class, the interests of the working class will improve. And that is the role of the government to reach out to the working class. And also we have harms at two levels. If these companies are not given a chance to restructure, they'll completely go down. And these companies I'm talking about, especially banks, but other companies are dependent on these banks for revenue for themselves. So if no one is going to save these banks, who are going to save? So only the government is at a position now to save these banks. And also, if the government does not practice protectionism now, it will affect America and the global stage very badly. Because America has heavily integrated with other countries, and working people lose their money because the banks go down with these people. So, like I've mentioned and again, the government is the only source that these banks can rely on to save themselves. That's by saving the banks, you save the working people. Nevertheless, the government should step in and remedy for this problem. Yes, sir.
Madam, say that the government regulation is the solution, yet the banks aren't going to make the same mistake twice, and the government was in no better position to spot this crisis coming than the banks were. How is more regulation actually going to help?
Well, now, since they are pumping the money, since it is them giving the money, I'm sure they have a better eye over what the banks are doing with the money, and they would definitely go to prevent any such problems happening again, because they have been hit once. So ladies and gentlemen, we are saying that protectionism as a legitimate tool is a way to go. It is not the only way to go, but it can work hand in hand with other practices. And that the government is the one in the position to help these banks. And the government is the one in the position to help these banks, because the banks are not going to get any revenue from anywhere else. So let's go with the proposition. Thank you very much.